Welcome to my podcast, Chaotic Harmony. I am your host, Angela Schultz. When I finally decided to take this leap and start my podcast, I had a plan in place. Episodes lined up for the most part, and a vision of how I wanted it all to come together. Then life happens. This week, I had something else completely different in mind for this episode until I was woken up around about 3 a.m. by my husband, kind of shaking me. Wake up, hon, wake up. I had been crying uncontrollably, shaking and yelling out, I don't want to die, over and over in my sleep. Once I calmed down and finally realized that very real feeling nightmare was just that, a nightmare, I decided I needed to change my episode so I can talk about something else. In this episode, I will be sharing my nightmare that started when I was about 16 years old. My 16-year-old self was extremely uncomfortable in my own skin, bullied for my weight, constantly had acne, and I just wasn't exactly beautiful at that time. I was extremely self-conscious of everything, kind of like most girls that age, I'm sure. I lived on a farm with my family, and I didn't exactly feel wanted there for the most part. I felt more like a nanny, a maid, than anything else that they needed at the time. I was a student with good grades and a member of the school band. Most of all, I felt alone, but I tried to hide it by being that funny fat friend. Well, on the farm, there was a tractor that needed to be fixed, and a young man I shall call Larry came to help and work on it. Then Larry started working on other things around the farm. He seemed to be around the farm a lot more than normal. Whenever I saw him, I would catch him staring at me, smiling even, waving. I was not interested. I mean, I'm in school. Larry looked much older than me and definitely should not be staring at me. I'm 16. Larry was very shy of being 23. He seemed always very nice and always was smiling. He slowly gained my trust by simply just talking. After talking to Larry for a while, I felt like I could tell him everything. He even noticed how I wasn't appreciated at my house. He would even tell me I wasn't being loved the way I should be. He would tell me I deserved to be loved and appreciated the right way. Sometimes Larry would even bring me presents like flowers and candy. I was thinking, wow, someone actually appreciates me. Someone likes me. This is crazy. And he even understands me. But I still didn't see Larry that way because he was much older. Almost like, I don't know, a big brother or a friend. Larry never let down on showering me with compliments, telling me what I needed, letting me know what he can offer. And after I said I saw him as a friend, it didn't matter. He would still shower me with them. Now, after learning about my love for the races, Larry asked my father if I could go to the dirt track races with him. He wanted to surprise me, I guess. He told my father he would watch over me. At first, my father said no. Then, after Larry insisted it was nothing more than just friends, I was able to go. I loved, and to this day still love, the dirt track racing. So I definitely was going. I wish I could have told my younger self to never get into that shit truck. To never think or assume Larry was going to be trying to just be friends. I wish I could go back and tell myself that night would change me, my life, forever. After taking me to the races, Larry acted a little different towards me. My parents noticed it. My siblings noticed it. My grandma even noticed it. And I started to notice it a bit. It started with Larry having to drive me to school. He said it was because he wanted to start my day off with seeing me. I was told that anyway. I saw this as a gesture and kind. I mean, come on, think about it. I'm 16. This went on for some time. He would bring me to school, drop me off, smile. It just seemed all great. I started to feel more comfortable around him. I started to open my mind up towards him. He had been telling me this whole time I would change my mind on him, and here he is, fucking right. I did. I couldn't believe there was someone so invested in me that every little detail about my life mattered so much to him. To me, that felt like he was a protector as much as a loving man. He even reminded me all the time that I wasn't valued or loved in my household. But if I was with him, I would be his everything. I would be his world, and nothing else would matter. If only I could have seen how sick this actually was. Larry was a 23-year-old man slowly brainwashing a 16-year-old girl. I'm sorry, but by law, this would make Larry a fucking child molester. But I didn't see that. Here's where my 16-year-old self should have seen all the real danger. It started with our first kiss. As he looked at me after the kiss, he smiled. Then his eyes kind of changed, and he asked me if I ever kissed a boy. I answered yes. He fired back with, when? Well, it was after a dance, and that was it. It's nothing. By who? I wouldn't answer. I just kept saying a boy from school. It was just a kiss. Larry's face changed. It's hard to explain, but his face changed. It looked completely different. Within a split second, I felt this very sharp and very painful and hot pain on my right cheek. I immediately placed my hand over the spot that was stinging and stared at Larry in shock. Larry had just slapped me very hard. I should have answered no. No, I didn't kiss a boy. To a stupid question. I should have lied. I mean, come on, I knew he was a little jealous. I should have just said no. As I held my cheek with tears coming down my face, I was trying to comprehend what just happened. Then I saw his face change again, and he looked like his old self. I had never seen that happen to anyone, ever. He grabbed my hand that was covering my cheek and started saying, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I thought you were pure. You should have told me. Why didn't you tell me before? Larry swore he wasn't that kind of guy to act like that, so he felt really bad. He just loves me so much and got so upset. And then all of a sudden he was the one crying. And I'm over here stupidly beginning to make him start to feel better. No, it's my fault. I should have told you. I should have known better. With that, Larry promised me he would never hurt me again. He just felt so bad. And I believed him. His tears looked so sincere. After that kiss we exchanged, I guess that made me Larry's girl. He made sure I knew I was his girl every day. He would say it to me every time I saw him. I never said I wasn't, but I didn't ever remember talking about it. I did have my doubts, though. He did seem a bit jealous. I mean, he slapped me over something that happened way before him. He had always had to drive me wherever I needed to go, even if I could do it myself. He seemed to get upset at if I even talked to anyone. But at the very same time, he cared about me so much. He told me himself he couldn't live without me. That says a lot. He only wanted what was best for me. If I didn't know it was best for me, he would tell me it was best for me, and then bam, wow, how did I not know it was best for me? He had always been telling me I was his girl for every single day, and it felt so weird hearing it because of all those doubts. But then I'm Larry's girl. And after hearing those words, it started feeling true and real. I'm his. I am someone's girl. Someone actually wants me enough to be theirs. And he told me I was going to be loved and protected forever. That's all this almost 17-year-old girl heard from that 23-year-old man for a long time. Once I became Larry's girl, I needed to respect his wishes. I didn't know what his wishes were. Heck, I didn't even know what mine were. But he made sure to sit me down and tell me all about his wishes. I could no longer wear makeup. Wearing makeup meant that I was trying to get people's attention. And besides, I was so beautiful I didn't need it. My hair was too short. I needed to fix that. I was looking kind of like a boy. Girls have long, long, long hair. I couldn't wear anything that might attract another boy or man's attention. So that meant I had to go up a size or two in my sweatshirts, because even with a sweatshirt, you could see a little bit of the shape of my boob, and that's not okay. He would pick out my clothes if I needed help. I couldn't talk to certain people. But then as time went on, that list of people got longer and longer. I needed to let him know my every move, even at school. What was I doing? Who was I sitting next to? Who did I talk to? I wasn't allowed to hang out with my friends or go anywhere unless he was with me. If they didn't like him or they weren't allowing him to go, I wasn't going. Now, it's strange because as I'm talking about this, all of these wishes at the time did not come off to me as controlling. Think about it. I was a fucking kid. I was used to being told what to do. I saw it as, wow, he loves me so much that he wants to make sure no one messes with me, that no one tries to take him away from me. He just loves me so much. This is what you're supposed to do. I mean, that's what he keeps telling me. Larry got all of his wishes. And just like that, I slowly started losing friends and family. I also got kicked out of my family's home. I didn't understand why my family and friends were not wanting anything to do with me. It made me feel so lost and lonely. But Larry made sure I knew that they left me because they didn't love me or care enough about me, and that he was all I needed. I didn't need them. He went as far as threatening my family's lives and my own if I were to ever leave him, because that's how deeply and madly in love he was with me. And if I truly was loved by them, I wouldn't have lost them. He loved me so much, I didn't need to do a single thing. He would do it for me. I had to stay with him. And if I told my family any of this, he would make sure they would never believe me. Larry took my world that I thought was a little dark and turned it black. I was trapped. I was so trapped. My now 17-year-old self was so brainwashed that that was okay. That I was deeply loved and protected. So I had to be okay. This all had to be okay. I mean, most girls must have to go through this. Isn't this what love is? It was all okay until he started to punish me for refusing to have sex. He wasn't okay with that. I was his girl. And then I realized being his girl meant more like I was his property. And I should be pleasing him in any way. I tried to stop this from happening many times. But that's when I find myself staring at a ceiling, silently crying as he's laying on top of me. And when he would finish and see me crying, I was told I needed to grow up. No one would believe me anyway. I'm a drama queen. And because he moved in with me, I was asking for it. So he reminded me that if I was all, or he was all that I had left, I needed to stop acting like a baby and get the fuck over it. This is what people do when they love each other. It was so annoying to him that I didn't understand that. I didn't think forcing someone to have sex was love, but I didn't dare question Larry. Never question him. In fact, I didn't dare to try to even have my own thoughts at that time because even that felt a little bit too dangerous. My days all started to drown into one: get up, eat whatever Larry made me. Can't eat at school because he doesn't know what they're feeding me. Watch him pick out my clothes, or have him approve of what I put on. Get in his shit truck. Pretend to be happy so I didn't get him upset. Pretend to enjoy the conversation he's having with me as we're on my way to school. Get dropped off at school. Get a call during lunchtime. Make sure I'm on my best behavior. School gets done. Larry picks me up. Go to his parents' house. Pretend to be happy. Force me to have sex. Go to bed and hope to God I didn't wake up the next fucking morning. Don't get me wrong. There were moments I actually enjoyed. Those moments didn't last very long, but I held on to those so I could just keep on going. Larry's love was strong for me, and I was unsure I was feeling love. I wanted a break. To think about what was going on. To be able to breathe a little more. To not have to constantly be forced to do something I didn't want to do. I would talk to Larry about wanting to leave. And all that I would get back is, I will kill myself if you leave. I can't live without you. Don't you understand? If I can't have you, no one will. All of this I believed. All of this terrified me. All of this made me stay with him. One day in science class, I was eavesdropping on a conversation about a party from the past weekend. I sat there listening and wondering what it would be like to hang out with friends again, act my age. What it would be like not having to cover up bruises from all my mistakes I was making. What it would be like to laugh, and I mean truly laugh and mean it. What it would be like to not be Larry's remote sex toy. I was feeling more like his toy than anything these days. That conversation I overheard put a spark in me. I can't live like this anymore. I'm in high school. This is ridiculous. I had to somehow figure out how to get out of this situation. There has to be a way. It took me a few days, but around Thanksgiving break, I was done. I talked with my parents, and I was allowed back in. I had promised them that I'd stay away from Larry. My mother said I didn't even look like myself. I didn't even know if I knew myself at that time, but I was scared to death of all the what ifs. I called Larry from my parents' house and broke it off. I was too scared, and it felt like the safest thing to do. Then I wouldn't have to look at him. Larry didn't live very far away at all. He threatened my family and me so many times in the past. He was going to act on that. I'm sure. Maybe. I don't know. But one day passed after I broke up with him. Nothing. 2 days passed. Nothing. I thought I was in the clear. And then it was the third day that his truck came into our yard. So fast. Dirt flying everywhere. I heard my name being screamed out. I didn't want to go by him. He looked different again. He looked like he did when he hurt me or when he punished me out of love. He just wanted to talk to me in his truck, he was yelling out. I just wanted him gone. And then stupid me thought if I talked to him, he would leave and my family would be safe at least. While I was walking to that truck, I was shaking, scared to death. And as I got into that damn truck, he asked me why I looked so scared of him. And as he's saying all of this, I see the gun resting on his lap. I tried getting out of that truck, but I couldn't. He locked it. And that gun was right there. He was very emotional, telling me he needed me. As he's telling me I'm ruining him, he reached for the gun and then pointed it to my head. You hurt me. How could you do this? Then tells me he's going to kill me, and then himself, in front of my family. I couldn't stop crying. Sorry, kind of crying here now. I thought I was done for, and I was begging and pleading with him. But he just kept telling me how I broke his heart, and he loves me so much. That's when I saw my brother in the corner of my eye, walking slowly to the truck. I didn't want to lose my brother. This wasn't his fault. I wasn't sure what my brother was doing, but he got Larry to get me out of the truck. And as I'm climbing out, my brother got in. What? I couldn't live with myself if something happened to my brother. I ran to the house like my brother told me to, and I watched him from a window, so scared. I feared that I'd lose my brother. I watched them talk, hoping Larry wouldn't do anything to my brother. And then all of a sudden, Larry had the gun pointed to his own head. And after a few minutes of my brother talking to him, next thing you know, my brother's getting out of the truck, walking to the house, and Larry had left the yard. My brother saved me. I ran up to give my brother a huge hug and tell him how sorry I was. And all he could say was, Larry is fucked up and you need to stay away. That night, I laid in bed staring out my window, waiting for Larry to pop up. Why did I believe his promises and his lies? He said no one loved me, but I was just saved by my brother. He said he was protecting me, but he was the one with the goddamn gun to my head. That isn't love. Is it? But he's willing to die for me. I've seen that in movies. But I really didn't like the feeling of being a slave. I was doing the right thing. I hoped I was doing the right thing. It didn't take long for the I'm so sorry presents. I would be at school. My name would be announced over the loudspeaker. There would be flowers, teddy bears, candy, and they all came with a note. The notes were always the same. He didn't mean to do that. His love for me was so deep that he lost it. Then there was the promises. I'll be a better person for you. He'll let me wear whatever I wanted. He just wanted me back. He would do anything. He realized what he did. He's a changed man. Those presents didn't mean anything to me. I was starting to realize the damage he did to me. But those damn notes, they haunted me. And then those words, he's a changed man. Those new promises, he wouldn't be telling me what to do. I laid in bed and read those notes over and over. Questioned myself about what I wanted. Well, I wanted to be loved, to feel protected. I wanted someone that wanted to ask me about how my day was. Someone that would go to the ends of the earth for me. And here Larry is, right in front of me. If he's changed, well then everything should be fine. I just have to tell him what I needed. He said he would listen. And that's when I caved in, damn it. I went to visit him. I was told by my parents if I went, I wasn't allowed back. I tried telling them that he changed. He even told me himself. And then I'll be fine. But the minute I left that yard, I knew I chose Larry over them. And I probably wouldn't be allowed back. Larry made me feel like our lives together would be great. I believed every single word that came from his mouth. I mean, this man was dedicated. I saw how dedicated he was. So a few months had passed and Larry had kept his word. He was going out of his way to make me feel loved. We were hanging out with his friends, and having fun, watching movies and planning our future if we had one. Then I started to not feel so good. I was so nauseous that I couldn't move or get out of bed. I was puking all day and all night. Larry's mother suggested getting a pregnancy test. There's no way I could be pregnant. Nuh-uh. I was still in high school. What the hell was I going to do now? But Larry over here seemed to be very excited over the idea. Now, don't get me wrong. I wanted to be a mother, but I was still a child. And when those blue lines showed up and confirmed that I was going to be a mother, I didn't want to believe it. I wasn't sure I could be a good mother. I wasn't sure this was a good environment for my child. I was so fucking scared. Then I noticed Larry seemed to be getting a little bit more needy as I found out I was pregnant. He even asked me one day if I would love the baby more than him. I couldn't believe that was even a question. At the time, I was too sick to even try to entertain a question like that. With me being sick, that meant Larry wasn't getting his needs met. To be honest, the way I was feeling, I could care less about his needs. I wanted to feel like a human being again. My morning sickness was messing with me so much. Larry didn't care for my fake sickness, he called it, and would tell me all the time it didn't matter. I was his and he'd get what he wanted. I just couldn't. I couldn't barely lift my head to even eat a goddamn cracker or drink a little bit of water. I'd throw up. But Larry wasn't having it. Larry wasn't having any of it. He wasn't taking no for an answer, sick or not. So I got pinned down, and he forced me, very, very forcefully held me down. My crying out for help to his parents didn't help. He began ripping my clothes off, my shirt, my bra, my pajama pants, even my underwear. All of them were either ripped or torn, all while telling me I was going to have to deal with it. I saw his face. It was that very face he had when he hit me, when I did nothing wrong. When he had the gun to my head, I knew this face. I needed to put this baby first. If I died because I tried escaping this, I knew I was doing the right thing. I had only known I was pregnant for a short time, but the love I had for this baby was beyond words. My screaming for help wasn't helping. In fact, it was stopped. But not by me. By Larry's hand. He very angrily told me to shut the fuck up. And if I couldn't shut up, he would make me. I am very confident that at that very moment, my motherly intuition kicked in. I was able to get him off of me. I just had to kick him in the balls. I got up off the bed as he was whining and crying like a little bitch. Felt very dizzy, but very determined. Because my clothes were all fucked up, I tried to get to the closet as fast as I could before he got to me. As I got there, the closet door opened. I saw my Letterman jacket from school. I grabbed it, I put it on, and I went to turn around to run, but Larry was out of bed and on his feet. He looked more enraged than I have ever seen. I begged him to let me go. The stress isn't good on our baby. He didn't seem to hear anything. He didn't even say a goddamn word. I continued to beg him, please just let me go. I can't do this. This is not good for the baby. Larry's arms reached out and grabbed the collar of my jacket. Please stop. Just please, I'm pregnant with your baby. This is your baby. Larry didn't say anything and slowly lifted me up a bit into the air. And without hesitation, he threw me into the closet and slammed the door shut. I really fucked up this time. Now I'm locked in a closet. My clothes are ripped to hell. And all I have is this goddamn high school jacket. Could this get any worse? I wasn't even sure it was over. As I tried to calm myself in this dark closet, I could see Larry's feet pacing back and forth. I heard his parents come into the room even. Their voices were muffled, but they didn't sound happy. Larry started yelling back at them, telling them to get back to bed and that this was his problem to deal with. When did I become a problem? What the fuck is going to happen next? Will my baby even know me or know how much I love it? Then the closet door opens, and the person I thought was going to be in front of me was not who I expected. It was Larry's dad. He was standing there, looking quite upset. He helped me out of the closet and whispered, "Get out now," as he dangled my car keys in front of me. I went to hug Larry's father, but he said he didn't have much time as he tried helping me out of the door. Thank you, Larry's dad, by the way. God rest your soul. So I just ran to my car, and I was thankful that Larry's dad helped me. Once I got to my car, I could hear Larry getting louder and more upset. I slammed that door shut, locked the door as fast as possible, and tried like hell to get the key in as I was shaking terribly. And I got it started and I began to back out that yard. I could see Larry on the porch coming towards me. I backed the car up and tried like hell to get away as fast as possible, but just as my car made it to the road that I needed to turn onto, I saw Larry's truck was started up. He was yelling out the window, "If I can't have you, no one can fucking have you. I already told you this, bitch." I knew at that very moment, this might be my last night on earth. This was way too scary and way too real. I have never seen him this angry, and this was fucking scary. I started to speeding up as fast as I could down the road, hoping I could make it to my parents. I felt like if I could just make it there, I would be fine. Larry's truck lights appeared behind me quickly, quicker than I could have ever imagined. And there were only 2 farms on this road, and it was quite late. So my hopes of getting their attention weren't very high, but I was determined to save my baby. So I would do anything. As I went past the first farm, I screamed as loud and as hard as I could, "Help! Call 911!" That's when Larry's truck appeared right next to me. He was driving on the opposite side of the road and he was screaming, "You're fucking done!" as he swerved and drove me off the road. The ditch wasn't as deep as it could have been, so I was able to get back on the road, but the feeling of that truck hitting my car and putting me in the ditch, well, it was fucking horrible. I can't even explain it. Larry was willing to kill me. I thought he loved me. But more importantly, Larry was willing to kill our baby. This was all over sex? This is completely fucked up. I wish I would have listened to my family. I wish I would have never fallen for those lies. I wish I would have never heard his stupid words. I am such a fool. I was now in the scariest spot of my life. And to be honest, it might have been the last of my life. After getting my car back onto that road, Larry sped up quite a bit and got in front of me. I didn't know what to expect. I had one more farm to scream at, and I hope they hear me. And I'd be saved from this nightmare. To this day, I don't think I've ever screamed that hard, ever. But I really wanted this to be over. My body didn't need this stress. Our baby didn't need this stress. The car managed to make it to the intersection, and I could see my parents' farm from there. My heart skipped a beat. I was close, yes, so far. I went to turn right, and Larry's truck flew up onto the road and completely blocked my turn. I couldn't move. I could barely even see anything at this point because my tears were just flooding my face. I just knew I didn't want to die. I didn't want to die. Larry was screaming all kinds of things at me as he continued to block me. I tried like hell to not hear any of it. I was trying to figure out how to escape. As I finally realized I should back up, I saw a different set of headlights get closer and closer. Those headlights belonged to a semi. I'm now screaming at Larry, let me go, move. We're both going to die at this point. But if I remember correctly, he already was going to kill me, then himself, at my parents' house before. So maybe this was his plan. But it was almost as if Larry purposely did it, because as soon as he moved his truck from blocking me, I had a second or two to get my car out of the way. Just enough time to not get hit. And that semi, oh, it didn't slow down for anything. In fact, it just honked as it went past me, dickhead. My parents' driveway was right there. So fucking close. I made it in without Larry getting in the way. And I drove my car right up to the front door. I got out of the car as fast as my body would let me. I get to that front door and I just wanted to go in and call 911. But just as I grabbed that doorknob and turn it, Larry flew up the driveway in his truck, just about hitting my car. I turned the doorknob and it was locked. What the fuck? It's never locked. What am I going to do now? Before I could think or do anything, Larry had taken me by the jacket, picked me up, and pinned me to the side of his truck. He was crying, telling me how much he loves me and needs me. I was trying to do or say whatever I needed at that time just to be safe. I knew what he was capable of before, but tonight he was showing me a whole new level of crazy. A level of rage I had never known I was going to ever survive from. So as he still had me pinned, he began rubbing my fucking belly. I began to piss myself. He heard the pee hit the cement, looked down at the cement, and his face changed. I told him I was trying to get to the house because I had to use the bathroom, but he didn't say anything. He just stared at the pee on the cement. As I finally looked down, I felt this object press against my temple. I warned you. I fucking told you. We are a family now. I tried like hell to stay still. I needed to live. I am a mama now. I needed to fucking live. Anything I said to him didn't matter. He would tell me I was lying or that he didn't believe me. That gun barrel was staying in place. And the more and more mad he got, the harder and harder it was pressed against my temple. Whenever he got more upset, it just kept going and going and going. I tried telling him I loved him. As soon as those words came out of my mouth, though, I puked all over. That's when he moved the gun to my stomach. I wasn't going to have his baby. If he couldn't have me, I wasn't having his baby. I stood there completely hopeless, tears pouring down my face. I'm going to die and my baby's going to die. I'm not sure why I thought this was a good idea, but at this point I had nothing to lose. I slowly put my freaking right hand on my stomach and I say out loud to my baby, I love you, baby. Mama loves you. And then Larry began to cry, and I felt the gun lift from my belly. He was throwing his body all over the place as he's crying. I felt frozen. The house door was locked. Where would I go if Larry even lets me live? I just tried to play it safe, and I stood there, hoping to God he would let me go. Larry is looking like he's throwing a fucking temper tantrum, and I couldn't help but puke more. Larry heard my puking, and as if another one of his many switches were flipped, he went into protection mode, started rubbing my back as I was bent down puking in the grass. He started saying, "Look at what you made me do. I love you so much. Why did you do this to me?" All of this was being said to me while he's rubbing my fucking back. And that gun was still in the other hand. I didn't want to say anything. I was starting to lose all hope. And my strength that I had was barely even, it was just fading. Larry must have noticed I was getting worse because he started to calm down. He continued to blame me for everything that happened that night. If you would have just let me have sex, this would have never happened. And he isn't wrong. It wouldn't have happened. But most definitely, it would have happened a different time. I don't want to die, Larry. I don't want to die. He was still in protection mode, so I knew I could say a few things. Just try not to set him off again. Larry then began to try to hug me when I was saying I don't want to die. He was rubbing my belly, tried to kiss me. And when I backed up, in his own words, I just want to go back home and forget everything that just happened. We're going to go home as a family. I needed him to stay calm. My life and my baby's life depended on him staying calm. I immediately felt like I was in protective mother mode. I told him I needed him to put the gun away if we were going to talk about anything. He shook his head in agreement and then put the gun under the seat of his truck and shut the door. I was crying this entire time. Larry turned to my face and had the nerve to save me by wiping my tears. He continued to tell me how much he loves me. Look at what just happened. That is what I did because of the depths of my love for you. I would do anything for you. Don't you realize that? I realized I had to play his game. That was the only thing I could do right now. So I told him, I understand why you're upset. I told him he scared me and I was already not feeling well. And that I just wanted to be by my parents. They don't love you like I do, remember? You are nothing to them. I begged him. I told him I didn't want to lose our baby over this. I made sure he understood what kind of stress he could be putting the baby under. That's when he touched my stomach again and then bent down to kiss it. And as he bent down, I looked up at the sky. I didn't want to even be near him. I didn't want him touching him. I didn't even want to be in the same time zone as him. But if I wanted to live, I needed to play along. Then he went to kiss me after he kissed my stomach. I immediately backed up. The look he gave me ended up giving me goosebumps. Shit. I shouldn't have backed up. Bad idea. I was puking so much, that's why I backed away. I don't care. I love you, so fucking kiss me. And I did just that. I let this man kiss me and told myself that was the very last time. I no longer knew him. I no longer needed him. I wanted this over. When he backed up from that kiss, I noticed his face change yet again. Almost like I was looking at a completely different person than I was seconds ago. He repeatedly started saying sorry as he's crying. Then, just like that, he got in his truck, turned it on, backed up, and drove out of the driveway. I sat down on the cement step to get a little, like the biggest sigh of my life. But he left. He just up and left. I was alive. After I could no longer hear his truck, I rubbed my stomach and told my baby that I would do anything I needed to do to make sure that he or she were safe. And as that adrenaline wore off, I could feel every single muscle in my body ache from being so tensed up. I got more sick, in fact. But what made me sick the most was the feeling of an indent on my temple. It actually hurt for days after that. After I found my parents and got into safety, I went to the courthouse and I was granted a 2-year restraining order against him. Larry had to get rid of his guns. He never got rid of them, but he had to get rid of them, they told him. And I gave birth to a beautiful baby. To this very day, I still get rescued by my husband as he tries to wake me up from crying out in my sleep. I don't want to die. I could still feel that gun up against my skin as if it just happened. And I could see Larry's face staring down at me. And I catch myself rubbing the temple that gun was pressed against when I get nervous. I got lucky. Now, there are warning signs I should have paid attention to. There were people in my life that were telling me how bad this was. But when you're in that situation, it doesn't matter who tells you what, who leaves your life, or whatever. You yourself have to see it with your own eyes. It takes some people longer than others to open their eyes. Some, unfortunately, don't even make it. But from my own experience, when someone was telling me to get away from a person, it just made me run to Larry even more. I truly believe that everything happens for a reason, whether it was the past or will be in the future. These experiences shape us, teach us, and mold us. These experiences are meant for growth. Although my nightmare was horrible, just fucking horrible at the time, and hard to get through, and scary as hell, it still ended up with a very big positive. I was given a beautiful baby. And as I sit here figuring out what I wanted to say for this podcast, I was right next to the gift our child gave us, our grandbaby. Our scars are not to be looked at as ugly. They are a reminder of what we went through and how we survived. Some of those scars are emotional and some are physical. They are still a part of us forever. And if anyone ever has a problem with your scars, then they aren't worth your goddamn time. Thank you for listening to my life story. Now, enough for the serious talk today. Do this world a favor. Go out there, embrace the weird as much as you possibly can, and make normal feel boring. Bye.